how the apostles were when Jesus called them into ministry. How old, this is the young people, I don't want any adults to answer me for a minute. We're going to make this an interactive church service today. How old do you think the apostles were? Those are Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Simon, Peter, all those. How old do you think they were? Somebody just give me a number. How old were they?
35.
Huh? 35. What about you guys? 32. Anybody else want to guess? Apostle still don't count because he knows the Bible pretty good. Okay, so here's the deal, guys. Most of those kids walking with Jesus were probably 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay? They were young boys. The only one that was probably old enough to have a wife was Peter. Peter was married because we learned that Jesus went and helped his mother-in-law. Okay, and plus he collected the tax for him at the temple to pay offering for him and Peter. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to understand what was going on at that time. How many of y'all are 15 years old and Jesus walks up to you and says, I'm going to teach you some stuff. You're going to leave your house and go with Jesus and leave your mom. You guys going to do it?
No.
You don't know that man, right? You've never seen that man. So Jesus had something on him that allowed people to be able to know that he was chosen. He was the one. He was the Messiah. They didn't know at that point who he was. But can you imagine, Jordan? You're walking down the beach and you're fishing with your sons there, all four of them. You're fishing with them. And this man walks up, this stranger, and says, you guys come with me. I'm going to make you fishermen. You just drop what he's doing and fishing, and you come with me, and we just go down the road. And you don't go back home ever again. Y'all going to do that? You're not going to do that, right? But they did. The reason is people at that age got a wife when they were young, at 18 or 19. Okay, I'm going to teach you the education system. You guys like going to school?
No.
Well, nobody in here like going to school. Wow, except my daughter. She said yes. So here's the deal. We really don't know how old they were, but we got to look what's called historical lenses. We got to look at glasses and look back to everything that was happening at that time. I'm going to teach you what the Hebrew children went through in school. First little bit. There's a book called the Mishnah, and what it was, it taught in Hebrew and Judaism, it taught the law that Moses had written. So there was written law and there was oral law. So they studied these things. When they were 5 years old, they started to study Scripture. The Old Testament, what Moses had written. Okay? So if you're in the Old Testament, you're 5 years old, you're already studying the Bible. How many of y'all study the Bible? You don't read it, study it. Started at 5. Kindergarten. When they were at 10, they started studying the law. When they became 13, they started studying it's called the Torah, and that Moses wrote, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, okay? They studied those. Those were the laws. After that, their schooling was done. At 15, you went to do 2 things. You went to work for your dad, whatever he was doing, and your family. Or a rabbi said, you're smart enough and rich enough to come and learn with me. Now, is that fair to say that you're rich enough to come and get continuous education? Or you're smart enough to get continuous education when you're inviting people in? So the apostles were probably young men who weren't well-to-do. They were average Joes like myself. They were just guys that get up and went to work every day. The Bible tells us Jesus started preaching when he was 30. That's because the law said he couldn't teach until he was 30. Jesus followed the law. He knew the law, right? Y'all agree with that? Did Jesus do what he was supposed to do? Y'all are dead. I need somebody to talk. You kids, yes? Do you know anything about Jesus? What do you know about Jesus? We got a long way to go. No, but that's good because I love when I got to work. It makes me work harder. So, okay, here's what the deal is. They started at a very young age. I want somebody, when I turn back around, to come up here and read these scriptures. One of you young men, come up here. You're going to get involved. We have a youth Sunday. Y'all going to learn to do this so I can sit back and watch y'all do it. Come here a second. Y'all, this is a process. Come right here. Here's what I want you to do. He's reading Matthew 11 and 25. Read that right there. And if you don't know the words, pretend like you know them. This way, turn around this way. Turn around this way. Read 25. It's right there.
At that time, Jesus answered and said, I think
thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, and hast revealed them unto babes.
No, you just stop right there. We said he revealed them unto babes, right? Somebody else come here. One of you young people. Jump up, come here. Don't everybody come at one time, because I don't like being crowded. Come here. Come here. You're doing it now. You're going to learn that the preacher's daughter and sons get called on. Nobody else will do it. Come here. That's how it goes. She's as tall as I am, and she's 11.
Oh, man.
That's right here.
In that hour Jesus rejoiced in spirit and said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, and even so, Father, for so it seemed good in thy sight.
Once again, he revealed it to babes. Give me one more. Give me one more. Somebody. If I have to read it, we're going to run laps. Raymond got that. He laughed about it. I'm going to read the last one. Nobody wants to read. Why they keep pointing at you? Come here. I promise you it's going to be okay. No, she don't have to. I've learned one thing. I learned one thing with kids. Don't force them to do anything they don't want to do it until it's that time. Here, listen to what I'm going to say. She said, yeah, Mom. John 13:33 says, little children, yet a little while I am with you. You shall seek me. And as I said unto the Jews, whither I go, you cannot come. So he was talking to little kids. When you read this, I need you to understand when he was walking with the disciples, they were children. The Bible tells about how they would argue over things. When you get into detail and read the Gospels, they would argue over little petty things. Okay? One of the parts of it is, hold on, give me 1 second. The next time we're up here, you guys are going to be up here doing this, okay? You guys do this? Can you do this? Read Scripture? Come up here? Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. What do you do when you're 14 or 15 years old and you're around your buddies? And I keep pointing at you guys because you're the two teenage boys sitting in front of me right now, okay? Teenage girls, listen, because you're next. I see. When you're with your buddies, what do you talk about? Sports. Okay? When you come in here, what are you thinking about? Sports. It's okay. It's honest. I was a boy. I was young. I did the same thing in church. My aunts hit me so many times in the Lutheran church I grew up in. Between her and my grandma and my mom, I probably still got welts somewhere on me. Okay? Because I wouldn't listen. I was always getting slapped or smacked or put your chewing gum down or quit doing this or sit up or whatever. That's what you're supposed to do. I'm very tolerant of that. Okay? I understand because I was a young man too. My wife says I still act like I'm 14, 15, but it's okay because I'm growing every day. I've seen Dion look at Raymond out of the corner of my eye. They behaved in a way that tells us they were children. But at the same time, what they did is they walked with Jesus. You got to think now, they were 18 or 19 when he was crucified. So you imagine this teacher that you've grown close to, and on the day of crucifixion, you're watching him get hung on this cross and murdered. That's got to be brutal. But the crazy thing is, he told them it was going to happen, so the day it happened, they believed what he said because he had proved it to them. This is what's going to happen. So when it happened, they were like, we're by ourselves now. We got to do what he taught us. How many disciples were there, guys? How many apostles? 12. Yeah, don't cover your mouth. Say the 12. If it's wrong, we'll figure it out. There were 12. Do you realize how many hundreds of millions of Christians are in the world today because 12 men decided that they would do something? Wow. And they would talk about it. So when I say this, when I showed the songs earlier and it said a little spark will start something. Both songs said that. He said, I just need you. And the next song said a little spark. All you need is one person. Do you think you can change the world? You don't know? Do you think you can?
Wow.
Do you think you can?
Yes.
Do you really believe you can change the world? If you try. So we're going to try, right? I'm that crazy guy. And people are watching this at home on Facebook know me, man. If you work with me, Apostle Steele's already learned it. If you know me, I go. I try to change things. I try to make them change. And sometimes they don't work, and I have to stop the car, get out a minute, look around, and get back in the car and go a different road. That's what we're doing as youth leaders. We're trying to build you guys up so you can understand it's okay to make mistakes. I tell my young men, you're going to mess up, so do it quick. If you're going to mess up, do it fast. If you're going to do something bad, do it quick. Get it out of the way. Don't do it when you're 30, when it counts, when you have a job, okay? Don't mess up when you're 30. Don't mess up. When you go off to college, you're going to call your mom someday, you're going to call your dad someday, and you're going to go, I'm in trouble. And they're going to get mad. But then they're going to be okay. Because they're going to be like, I expected that. There's not one adult sitting in here who hasn't done something that was wrong.
Wow.
At some point. Okay? We've all done a lot of things that are wrong. But look where we stand today. We're sitting here teaching you stuff today. So we know it's a process. These guys in 3 years learned so much from Jesus because they listened. He taught so many things. And another thing that tells us that, you ever read Jesus' parables? You ever read about the vineyard or the wheat and the tare and all that? When you read those things and it sounds like it's crazy stories, he had to simplify it for children.
Yes.
I can't take this little guy right here and explain to him how to do algebra. I can maybe take some marbles or something, lay them on the floor and show him how to break it down. And he's like, oh, I understand what that means, but I still don't know what algebra is. So there's got to be ways you do things. When we do youth stuff, I'm going to teach you guys what it means to be okay in the Christian world. Especially the young men. I keep going back. I don't care what race you are, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. Young men do not want to go to church. Unless they're involved in church. If you're banging on these drums or this, you can't wait to get here. You know why? Because it's like running a touchdown on Friday night and you just scored the winning goal. You guys just beat Statesboro, whoever you just beat. Okay? When guys come up here and get on these things, they're like, man, I'm going to show everybody what I can do. I'm going to showcase my skills. That's what you're coming up here to do. It's nothing with pride. It's nothing with glory. It's what God has allowed you to be able to do. So it means something different. When they dance, why did y'all dance today? Why did you dance? What made you come up here and do it?
You danced too.
Yeah. Was it because you just like to dance? Do y'all go home and dance to everything? So you don't ever do that?
I don't dance to everything.
But you dance at home?
But you dance.
But you dance. If you weren't a dancer, you would have got up here and danced. So you're a dancer. I'll be honest with you. I've seen more praise dances in youth be more effective when I've gone to youth programs than the words that come out of the preacher's mouth.
Wow.
I've seen that happen. Because they get up here and then they start filling 12-year-old heads full of stuff that they don't even understand the words they don't know.
True.
I can't preach on the level to Jordan and Apostle Steele and Raymond that I can preach to you guys on the level. So I have to speak a little bit of word. I have to break it down. I have to speak a little bit of word. I have to tell you something funny. I have to act up a little bit. Then I have to give you some word. It's figuring out what your audience is. And you'll understand that because there's some days that you're going to be like, he's crazy. Some days like, man, I got that. But then there's going to be a day 5 years from now you're at college and there's a decision to be made. And you're going to remember your praise dance. And you're going to remember a seed was planted. And you're going to be like, So you're going to remember why you did it that day. So the only reason we do this is to come up here and put something in your ears for a little bit. The other thing, I want to talk about a few things, and it's not going anywhere with my sermon. God always does that to me. He gives me a word, and he lets me meditate on it, then he gets me up here and he changes me to see if I'm going to listen to him or listen to this. He's telling me now something else. The highest, I need you guys to be upbeat. I'm going to give you 2 testimonies in a minute, if I can get through them. Maybe not. The highest mortality rate, or what kids your age are dying from today, is homicide and suicide. Those are the top 2. Homicide and suicide, 15 to 18. So that means every high school kid knows somebody that's committed suicide or somebody that's got killed. Raise your hands, anybody. If you know somebody in the last couple years that was a teenager that died or was killed and it wasn't a natural thing. I can name a bunch. I can name people in the north. I can name people I've worked with. The next thing is, when you go to school and you're lucky enough to go to college and extended university like the disciples were and have somebody, most of them come home because they're scared. Okay? There's a couple on Facebook, I'm not going to call their names, but there's some young men today that are going to know I'm talking about them without me talking about them because we've had the conversation when I see them when they wasn't in school. They go to school for 1 year and they get scared. They're right back home with mom and daddy and they're working over here at wherever making minimum wage. God gives us opportunities and people in front of us to grow. I said this where I preached before, I preached at other places. If you want to do something and go to school, me, Lee Sigmund, guarantees you I've got a way to get you there. I guarantee you. And if you think I don't, try me. I've had so many kids that want to do it, and then when you start making phone calls or helping them, they really don't want to do what they want to do. Or they get to school and they're like, I can't do this. It's hard. I'm on my own. I got nobody to babysit. You boys can't wait to get out of your house, right? Just be honest. Jordan, your boy's closer. Yep. The greatest thing that you ever want to do when you're a senior in high school and you're going to college, you're like, man, I can't wait to get out of school and mom and dad's house because I got opportunity every day to do what I want to do. But I'm going to tell you, when my son went to college, this is part of some testimony. That boy called his mama every day. Every day he called her or she called him. And I don't mean like, hey, how you doing? I'm good. Okay, I love you, bye. It was like long, drawn-out conversations. But I wouldn't talk to him maybe once a week. He'd call my phone and I just let it sit there for a second. Because I know if it's an emergency, he's going to call her first. So I'm going to know about it before he calls me. I just let it simmer while I was at work. Like inside, I'm wanting to call him, right? Like, well, what? What do you need? But I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to let him be a man for a few hours. I'm going to let him see what he needs. And most of the time, it was just he needed to hear mom or daddy's voice. That's all I needed to hear. He wanted to hear a voice that was comforting because he wasn't around him. My son got to school his freshman year. His first semester, he was scared to death of the people around him. Because he grew up here. He hadn't been anywhere to see anything different. He was scared to death. Because there was people from New York to Florida, and from Chicago to Ohio to Texas. And there was different cultures, different classes, different people, different ethnic backgrounds, different everything. He had never seen anything like that. He was blown away. Wishes he was home. That, he come home for Christmas, and he was like, I get to eat some real food. Okay. But right after Christmas, he went back. And I could tell driving back, she was hesitant, he was hesitant. Because his freshman year, they took 50-some new football players. Well, 8 of them were on the team after Christmas. 42 of them said, I ain't coming back to school. That was 42 freshmen who were given the opportunity. At the end of that summer, he was like, I ain't even ready to come home now. He had gotten familiar with his surroundings. He had gotten familiar with what was there, but it took him a minute. But the reason he was successful, these other kids went home. One kid drove to Florida in the middle of the night during camp, packed his stuff up, drove back to Florida. Wakes up in the morning, his dad comes in there and he's at home. His dad's like, what are you doing? I can't take it, Dad. Dad said, oh, no. Dad put his stuff back in the car and told him, when you get to school, call me because I'm calling your coach and tell him you're leaving right now and something happened. I'm going to cover you. There's a family emergency and you had to come home last night with all your stuff for some reason. Okay, so I'm going to make it right. Y'all laugh. It's the truth. She'll tell you. It's the guy telling the truth. We heard these stories. I'm there talking to parents. He went back to school. He's still there today, 2 years later, you know? But I mean, he left because he's like, I ain't doing it. His dad said, you're not coming back in this house. You can take your stuff and go down to IHOP or wherever it is you're going. You're not coming here. I'll see you in 4 years. But he did it for a reason. Okay? You got to push your kids. There's going to be days they don't want to do what you want them to do. And there's going to be days you kids can't stand us. And that's okay with me as a parent and as a pastor. You don't have to like me. I'm not your friend. How many of y'all got friends in school? You got friends? Parents, I'm going to tell you something now. Listen to what I'm getting ready to say. You're not friends with your kids. And if somebody tells you that you are, you're not. Okay? If anybody ever says, me and my daughter or son are best friends, you tell them the devil is a liar, you better be a parent. Because they got friends that's going to do things with them. I've got people my age who have kids, and their kids smoke pot and get high with them. Okay? The kids are 25, they're 50, and they get high with them. No example. And it's what they do. I mean, it's what they do. Don't be your kids' friends, parents, on that part of it. So 2 testimonies. You can have all the church in the world. You can have it around you. And you can still grow up and not have a clue who Jesus is.
So true.
And not do it, okay? You can grow up in the church. Some of the worst kids in the world and some of the best kids in the world are pastors' kids.
So true.
Deacons' kids, trustees' kids, choir kids. They do everything. So, turn that off. Anybody's recording, turn it off.